is the place where kids come to learn and feel like they have a sense of purpose. Most kids are excited to come to school because it's a safe and healthy environment for them, and it gives them something to look forward to. School is the place where we get to teach them values and definitely very good lessons that they can take away and apply to their everyday lives. School is the place where we teach healthy habits. I was lucky enough to grow up in elementary school here in Worthington, and my guidance counselor was fantastic. She had us recite very valuable lessons, such as treat others the way you want to be treated, and you have to do your have-tos before you do your want-tos. Now in school, we learn a variety of subjects like English, math, science, you name it. But what marks me as weird is why are we neglecting to teach children the importance of their nutritional well-being? You know, the content that they learn in these other subjects, they're up to date, they're informative, and it's upbeat. So why are we choosing to fuel our children with chemical-filled processed food items in the lunchroom? And why are we instilling less than optimal, unhealthy eating habits at the place where a child is supposed to be nurtured? As our lovely MC said, my name is Cheyenne Buckingham. I'm a junior at Ohio University in the Scripps School of Journalism. My primary course of study is journalism, and I am applying and specializing in applied nutrition because it is my passion and it is my hope to inspire and educate people everywhere how to lead a healthy lifestyle. This is too often neglected. I hope that after graduation I can show people how we can eat healthy, and it all starts with our elementary schools and what we're feeding to them there. My life flipped around in the 8th grade. I took the mandatory health class, and it's here that I learned that green beans and chicken nuggets were detrimental to your health. Who knew? That was news. Anyway, I realized that it was so devastating to me because that's what they were serving us in the lunchroom day in and day out. And I thought, well, why is that? And I remember I asked my health teacher, why do they serve these kinds of things if they're not good for us, if they're not going to help us thrive? She said, and I quote, this is what she kind of gave me in her response, a mournful look, a shrug of the shoulders, and she's like, I don't know. She had no idea. We are in serious need of reformation in our food system. According to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, about 610,000 people die each year from heart disease. That means 1 in every 4 deaths can be attributed to heart disease alone. According to Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign, 1 in 3 kids are either overweight or obese. It's time we make a conscious effort to put an end to this growing obesity epidemic in our generation and in ones to follow. The late 1950s is when convenience foods certainly launched. Now, I wasn't around during the 50s, but from my research, I found that this was an era of celebration. We won the war. Everyone's feeling relieved. There's this happy-go-lucky spirit, and then this yields to a baby boom. All of a sudden, our population increases abruptly. This is when the US adopted this idea, this fear, that we are not going to have enough resources, particularly food, to feed this abruptly growing nation. So cue in the industrial era, or as I like to call it, the time period in which our food turned into a lab experiment. During the war, 17 million new industrial jobs were created, and industrial productivity increased by an astounding 96%. To top that, the nation's GDP more than doubled in 20 years from 1940 to 1960. Sounds great. Our economy was booming. Unfortunately, this drastic increase in consumers and productivity caused the small family farms to go under because they could not meet ends meet as they were trying to keep up with the ever-growing agriculture market that was succumbing to the demands of industrialization. This is where our problem begins. This is where regional farming is replaced by means of mass production. And this is where our quality of food is sacrificed for quantity. We must reconnect with nutritious foods. In 1947, there were 7.9 million farmers in the United States. But by 1998, that number severely dropped to 3.4 million farmers. As a result of this decline in farmers, less fresh food was available as opposed to processed items. And I really want to express, it is not the school's fault for having a lack of healthful selections in the lunchroom. I want to tell you that local schools in the area would love to serve their children nutritious foods. They are aware of the health issues that are our present. Oddly enough, it's the United States Department of Agriculture, better known as the USDA, and other governmental influences that are failing us. They continue to subsidize in two products specifically that are the culprits of processed foods. It's corn and soybeans. The Washington Post released an article in 2014 called Farm Bill, Why Don't Taxpayers Subsidize in Foods That Are Good for Us? And in this article, they display the following information. Of the 300 million plus acres that are devoted to growing crops in the United States, half of them grow corn and soybeans. Another 50 billion grow wheat, and only 5%, or 14 million of that 300 million plus, are devoted to the cultivation of fresh fruits and vegetables. Boy, aren't those numbers skewed. But by buying from local farmers in our area, we give rise to that 5%. We give rise to that 14 million who are trying to grow healthful foods for our society. Now, fresh plant-based foods are the silent foods because they're not advertised in the media like Lucky Charms and McDonald's are. But again, isn't school the place where children learn life lessons and develop values? We can teach them what real food is and show them what food is not. And these healthful eating habits must be enforced while they are young and growing. But then there's the infamous argument that healthy eating is too expensive. And I would come to the rebuttal, yes, it is very expensive. In a cost per calorie conversion, it is shown that for every 100 calories of fat, it costs 17 cents. Whereas for every 100 calories of vegetables, it costs 68 cents. But the way I look at it is that it's an investment in your health. You only get one life, one body. Don't you want to do everything in your power to keep yourself healthy? But more importantly, why is the government not letting us take care of ourselves by making these foods, the vegetables, the fruits, more affordable? 11-year-old Burke Breyer gave his own TED Talk, and he is incredibly educated about this topic. From his TED Talk, it's called What's Wrong with Our Food System? He demonstrates his belief on the price of food. The most quotable thing that he had in his TED Talk was, we can pay the farmer now, or we can pay the hospital later. Can you imagine if every kid in the nation was as educated as Burke Breyer was? So what is it that makes him different from all the other kids in the United States? He is homeschooled. He's away from the USDA's pathetic school lunch standards. He is a prime example that with enough incentive, we can promote healthy eating in our younger generations. But the change has to start today. In 2014, the American Diabetes Association found that 1 out of 3 people will develop type 2 diabetes in their lifetime. What's even more alarming is that between the years 2008 and 2009, 5,000 youth were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And this is attained through poor diet. I spent a lot of my free time watching food documentaries, and one that really stuck out to me comes from Forks Over Knives. The following information is presented. We spend $2.2 trillion per year on healthcare. That's more than we have people in the world. We pay more per person on healthcare than any other industrialized country. Yet every minute, someone dies from heart disease. And 1,500 Americans a day die from cancer. These two illnesses alone kill over 1 million Americans every single year. So Burke was right. Instead of paying the hospital when it's much too late, let's pay the local farmers now. And because they put care into their individual crops and they care about your well-being and your health. These kind of farmers, they're away from the corporate pesticides. They rotate their crops, and this diversity keeps the soil naturally fertile season after season, and it keeps our environment clean. The local economy can blossom too when you pay your local farmer, because the money is constantly being circled back. So after we digest all of that background information, here's what I propose that we do to resolve this issue at hand. Number 1, teach children nutrition. Number 2, that's quick. 2, make field trips to local farmers and the farmers market. Number 3, let's put garden in schools. Number 4, let's allot more time for lunch. Number 5, let's compost. And all of this is possible, but it all starts with people who care about the longevity of our children. So I proposed that we make lunch a subject, a class even. I think it should be an hour long. That way kids have time to enjoy and savor the food that they are putting into their bodies. And twice a week during this hour-long period, we hold a nutrition seminar, 30 minutes. 30 minutes is all you need. A hands-on lecture that applies nutrition principles in a way the child can understand and interpret and appreciate and value. For example, you could say, did you know that grilled chicken on your plate is loaded in vitamin B12? That vitamin gives you enough energy so you can run really fast when you play tag at recess today. Good deal. These sessions could be divided by groups. 1 week could be spent on vegetables, the next on fruit, the next on grains, you name it. But the school is not the only factor that can be a part of this process. Parents play just as much of an influence as the teachers do. A weekly newsletter should be put into place by the PTA and the teachers who instruct the nutrition seminars. Together, they can inform the parents what their child is learning in the classroom so it can be applied in the household and, more importantly, at the dinner table. And like any class, we can have subjects. And we can have assignments. Assignment 1 could be go to the grocery store with mom or dad and pick out 3 vegetables that we learned this month. Another one could be make dinner with mom and dad tonight and record what you ate and why you think it was healthy. So that's number 1, teach them about the nutrients. Number 2, entails forming a relationship with the food supplier, which under this system, could be the local farmer. Field trips to see a farmer could be set in place once each season. This way the child gets to see where the food that appears on their plate at lunchtime is coming from. Number 3, let's put gardens into schools. I love this one. By adding a garden, this will allow students to get a hands-on experience in the field working for the food that they will later consume. This immediately establishes a relationship between food and child because they get to watch a plant that will someday rise into a juicy tomato. And that's fulfilling. Number 4, a lot more time for lunch. This one goes hand in hand with number 1. Right now, the average school lunch is between 20 and 30 minutes long. And some start as early as 10 a.m. That's breakfast, people. No wonder why they're throwing their lunch away. But these standards are instituted by the National School Lunch Program. Finally, number 5. This is compost, the idea of recycling our food. The National School Lunch Program spends $12 billion per year on lunches for kids. They insist that they are spending more money to adapt these healthier standards. However, they feel as though their efforts are being thrown straight into the trash. Why do they think that? Researchers at Brigham Young and Cornell University found that $4 million worth of fresh produce are being wasted each day in the schools. By composting foods that we do not finish, we prevent nutrition from going straight to the dumpster. But if we educate them in the first place about the value of these produce items, maybe they won't be as prone to throw them in the trash. Now, we haven't even talked about pesticides yet. U.S. agriculture uses 1.2 billion pounds of pesticides each year on their crops. That means, for us, each American, on estimation, consumes about 5 pounds of these chemicals every single year. But local farmers, they don't use these pesticides. We have it too easy as Americans, being able to go to a fast food restaurant or a gas station to get food that we think is food, but it's not real. Why not reestablish the idea of earning your lunch back into our daily lives, creating a greater value for food? The United States is one of the most dominant economic countries in the world. but our lunches certainly do not reflect that. Some of you may have seen this article as it went viral on Facebook last year. It's by the Huffington Post. It's about why college kids want to study abroad. There's many different lunches that are portrayed in this, but I chose to do Greece because I don't know if you guys are keeping up with the news, but their economy isn't too hot right now. They're not doing so great, but they are able to provide this kind of food on their children's plates. Let's see what we got here. Some baked chicken over orzo, oranges, cucumber and cherry tomato salad with stuffed grape leaves, Greek yogurt, and pomegranate. Wow, that sounds pretty good. And it's loaded in antioxidants and nutrition. But in the US, this is what ours looks like. It's a cookie, some canned peas, a fruit cup, chicken nuggets and barbecue sauce, and let's be real, people, is this real mashed potatoes? This could be the instant powder stuff. I don't even know. There could be some margarine in here. Who knows? In 1930, the Farm Bill deemed fruits and vegetables as specialty crops. And they are so special in the sense of the immense health benefits that they provide the body. After all, what do you think drove Hippocrates to say, "Let food be thy medicine"? Food is supposed to fuel you. Food is supposed to heal you and keep you healthy. It's time we teach our kids how to eat healthy, and that must be reflected by what we offer them in the lunchroom. That is how we resolve our issue. Thank you.